When the prosecuting attorney sat down with me and went through everything, she just told me this should have been a homicide. She just looked at me and said, "You were very lucky to be alive."
I know you're back with him. I'm gonna come for him. Then I'm gonna come for you. And I'm gonna kill you.
I saw evil before, but now it's standing right in front of me.
When desire overtakes reason, the human mind can unleash deadly obsession. These are true stories told by the victims.
I grew up in a small town called Boise, Idaho, born and raised there. In 2013, I was very passionate about working out and changing my lifestyle and getting healthy. That was the best I've ever felt in being fit and the way I looked and everything. I would exercise like 6 days a week. I wouldn't drink anything. I would plan all my food. It was a great year. That day, I had my headphones in, and this man came up to me and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
60 pounds, not bad.
I'm sorry?
You were pulling 60 pounds on that last set. Impressive.
Right.
My impression of Chris when I first saw him was a very fit guy, very clean cut, you know, just an average guy that would be at the gym.
Training for something special.
Just a little thing, you know, local.
Yeah.
Not exactly the Olympics. Anyway, I better be going. I really need to shower.
I'm Chris.
Michaela,
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you. Well, see you around.
That would be good. Hey, Michaela, can I get your number? I think maybe we could get a drink sometime.
Off the market. Sorry. But hey, I work at a hair salon right around the corner. You know, if you ever need a haircut.
Haircut date. Sounds good.
Well, see you around.
Bye.
He was just a very friendly person. He was really nice. It made me feel good. It made me feel flattered that he wanted my phone number, but I wasn't interested in him on going out or anything like that. I was engaged to be married later on that year. We met in 2006. Travis is the dad of all 4 of my kids, as far as I'm concerned. He's raised them and taken care of them, and you would never know that he wasn't their dad.
Careful my ears.
Quit moving or I'll cut them off.
Maggie, she wants to cut my ears off.
You know that costs extra, right?
Travis was just finishing up with college to become a diesel mechanic. We got our lives together, we had our careers. It was a good time in our lives.
It's been very nice to meet you today, sir. Hope to see you again soon.
Me too. That's harassment.
Get out of here. Okay, who's next?
That would be me. Chris.
Chris. Right, yes. I'm sorry. Hi, hello again. Have a seat.
Thanks.
When I saw him, I was just like, "Oh, wow, you actually came. Like, you actually came and got your hair cut."
What can we do for you today?
In my career, I get to know people, and we have some very personal conversations. They tell me about things in their life. I sometimes feel like I'm a counselor, which is really neat. Chris was just a really friendly guy. He told me that he was in prison. He was in trouble before, and now he's changing his life.
Yeah, it was just dumb kid stuff. You know, breaking into cars, that kind of thing. You know, I'm not a bad guy.
I've done my fair share of dumb stuff too.
You went to prison.
Okay, maybe not prison.
When he was telling me all this, I didn't really think of it being like, you know, anything too terrible. We've all done those things, made poor choices in life.
So what do you think?
Oh, it's shorter. It's definitely shorter.
I'll take that as a compliment.
No, seriously, I like it.
He was just like every male client that I have.
See you again, huh?
Come
See you
in,
later.
get your haircut, have a nice 30-minute conversation, and then they leave.
Okay, who's next?
Over the next couple years, he became a client.
She's cool. She understands.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
How long have you been a stylist?
8 years?
8 years?
He'd come in anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks to get his haircut.
I love it. Yeah.
He became a truck driver working in North Dakota. And every time that he came back home, he would come and get his haircut.
So how's it going in North Dakota?
Good. Long journeys.
I really enjoyed our conversations.
You sleep in the truck.
Yeah.
We just really developed a friendship.
Happy?
Happy. Yeah, it's good.
He would tell me about his life, and it was really neat to watch him go from, you know, pretty much no job to making amazing money and building a career.
Whoa. Hopefully I get to see you again, huh?
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. Take care.
Drive safely.
Thank you.
I was living with Travis with our 4 children in a home that we owned.
Tylee, please finish your yogurt. We're gonna be late. Austin, honey, I have your swim gear here. Tylee.
Kayla, give her a break. The kid's 10 years old.
11, and she's old enough to know how to eat. Like you care.
Don't start. Tylee, eat your yogurt.
About 2014, my marriage started falling apart. And I remember being very, very unhappy. We started fighting a lot. We both started just being very miserable in our relationship.
Kids, it's time to go.
We both realized that it was time to separate our ways. When we separated, I decided that I would move in with my mom. I would keep the kids for a week. He would take the kids for about 3 days. Chris was very sympathetic for me. I told him that I was leaving my husband and I was getting a divorce. He told me if I needed anything to let him know, and I just thought that was really neat. I had so many amazing clients that wanted to help me out during that time. Chris began texting me and just seeing how I was doing every once in a while. And then we began talking, and after a while, I was really excited that I had somebody that was so nice and so caring. And so it wasn't until May, he said, "Can I take you out on a date?" And I said, "You know what? I think I'd really like that." Our first date was amazing. He took me out to dinner at a very nice restaurant and spent a big chunk of change.
This is our first date. You shouldn't get me something like this.
Why not? You're beautiful. You deserve it. Want me to help?
Yeah.
Made me feel good that somebody found me, you know, attractive and that they wanted to be nice to me and take me out.
It's a little tricky. Here we go.
Thank you.
A toast. To new beginnings.
Second that.
After our first date, when he got here from North Dakota, we met again. And after that, we pretty much decided that we would see each other every day while he was here and we could get to know each other. First time that he met my kids was at my mom's house, and it was my birthday.
Let's do like a roller press. We're going this. Boom, boom. There we go.
He just drove back to Boise. Then my kids were just looking up at him like, wow, he's such a cool guy.
Good to see you happy again.
It's good to be happy.
I guess it's because of him.
It could be.
And I remember looking at my mom and telling my mom, like, this guy is completely like the dream.
Do the girl.
This is the type of person that I want to be with. My mom was like, wow,
He seems sincere. At least this one goes to church.
she really liked him.
Now it's time for your mom's present. Your present is a surprise.
What is it?
I'm quitting my job.
What?
I'm gonna get some work around here. I'm gonna stay at my mom's place, and we can be together. All the time.
And I was like, oh, Harry just left my husband. This guy pops in my life right as I'm leaving him, showers me, quits his job, moves here.
Are you happy?
I was like, okay, things are just gone way too fast.
Yeah, of course.
I need to take 2 steps back.
Who wants cake?
Who wants cake? Who wants gorilla cake? I'm good.
The weekend of July 4th, I decided that I wanted to treat Chris. I got tickets to go to a boxing match with some friends.
Come on! Come on!
He was super excited, like really pumped.
Hit him! Go on! Hit him harder, man!
We had a few beers, and then all of a sudden, this person that I've never even saw just came out.
Come on, man! He's embarrassing you! Come on, man! You're embarrassing yourself! Come on, man! Hey, buddy, sit down! Shut up!
Chris, please sit down.
Come on! Huh? Oh, you want to start something, huh? All right, you want some, right? Back off, man! Get your hands up! Come on! Come on! Huh? Get your hands off, man!
I'm Chris.
Michaela.
I met this guy that was truly amazing, so kind, so loving. And now this person that is angry and mad.
You're embarrassing yourself, man!
I mean, it was just like, I didn't even know who this person was.
Hey, buddy, sit down! Shut up! Oh, you want to start something?
He was screaming at people like he was ready to beat somebody up.
Back off, man! Get your hands up! Come here! Huh? Huh? Get your hands off me! Get your hands off me! Get up! Get your hands off me! Get up!
I was mortified,
I'm so sorry.
and it was very humiliating.
What are you doing? Are you crazy?
Shut your mouth. You don't get mad at me. I'm the man. Those guys are nothing. They're weak.
What are you talking about?
Just said shut up!
If he could get that upset for something so little and come out raging mad like that, you know, I was scared. This fantasy picture that I've painted, I just realized, okay, well, it may not be a fantasy. That was the night that I was like, how am I going to get myself out of this one? Sunday comes around, and that's when we actually sat down and kind of talked about Friday night.
He was screaming and shouting at people?
I felt like everything that I said went through one of his ears and out the other, and he really did not care how I felt.
He just won't listen, you know?
Sweetie, get out of this, please. I got a bad feeling.
I know. It's just all gone so crazy. Hello?
What is your problem?
What?
You don't call me all day.
I was with the kids. What's the matter?
You can't just cut me off. It's not how it works.
I don't want to talk right now. You need to rest.
Talking, okay? Listen to
Okay, stop. Okay, Chris? I don't want to be a part of this. Okay? I'm hanging up. Just... Chris, please.
Listen to me, bitch.
Don't answer it.
He called me about 20 times. I didn't answer the phone.
Hey, this is Michaela. I can't get to the phone right.
At that point, I was just feeling very confused. I wasn't sure what I got myself into. My mom's phone started ringing, and he ended up calling her about 16 times. And my mom didn't answer her phone. I was really upset and kind of scared. And I was very angry, and I just couldn't believe that, you know, everything was turning into this.
It's me. The problem with this country is you can't hit women. Because you know if I could, the next time I see you, I would give you such a beat.
I couldn't believe this was something that was coming out of his mouth. No one's ever spoke to me that way. And that was the message I sent to him, and then that's when it all began. And then Tuesday, I got off of work, and he showed up at my house.
I need to talk to you. Please, listen to me. I'm sorry.
There's nothing left to say. Okay, I can't forget what's
I
happened.
just want to be with you, okay? What's wrong with that?
It's not gonna work. I'm sorry. You can't treat people like...
Michaela, listen!
I'm going to go. I'm sorry. You need to leave.
Don't close the door. Don't, please.
He was getting very upset with me. And he was telling me he was so sorry, and he just really wanted to pursue this relationship. And at this point, I was just really confused on what to do. I was telling Maggie what was going on.
So you won't believe what happened last night.
And how scared I've become because he won't stop. He won't leave me alone.
And he had this look. It was just like totally crazy. Like he wasn't in control, you know?
That is so scary.
And he shows up there. When Chris walked into my workplace, my heart started racing. I was super scared.
Not at my work, please. Not here.
Come outside right now.
No, I'm not coming outside. You need to leave. I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm not gonna do this.
Come out here and talk! Come out here, Michaela! Michaela!
I'm standing there at work, and all of a sudden, Chris walks in. He kept showing up at my house, and now he's showing up at my work.
Not at my work, please. I'm not going to talk to you. You need to leave. I can't do this. I'm not gonna do this.
Come outside and talk!
I'm super scared, and so I go straight to the back room.
Michaela! Michaela!
You need to leave.
You're a coward, Michaela! A coward!
I'm calling the cops.
Come out here, Michaela!
I was just so upset and so mad that something, you know, has turned into this.
Please, please, I need help.
I called the police, and they told me that they would give him a call, and they also advised me if I wanted to, I could go down to the courthouse and try to get a protection order.
Michaela!
I would have to fill out a protection order there.
You can't hide forever.
She doesn't want to talk to you, okay? Now you just get on your way or I'll be calling the cops too.
Get out of my face.
I was scared because I didn't know what his plan was or what he was going to do. I didn't know what to expect.
Are you okay?
It's okay, I'm fine. Honestly, he's gone.
At this point, Maggie was very worried about me.
Are you okay?
No,
Maggie's a person that I could tell all my problems to, and she would give me some great advice, and she's a person that if I needed to cry on somebody's shoulder, she was always there for me.
He was a nice guy, I swear. When I met him, he was a great guy.
I felt like it was my fault because, you know, everything that was going on, you know, I'm the one who created this. I'm the one who decided to go out with him.
I'm so sorry that this is happening here. I didn't mean for this to happen.
No, look. This is not your fault. This is his fault. This is his problem. We're gonna need to figure it out, okay?
I'm so sorry.
How did I become so vulnerable to let somebody like that into my life and not even realize what I was doing to my family, what was going on with everyone around me? So a couple days later, I decided to go down to the courthouse to talk to him because my family was really worried, especially my mom.
So ever since then, he's been harassing me. Day and night phone calls, text messages. He's turning up at my home, at my work. You've got to help me.
You live together?
No, we just started dating a few weeks back.
Well, you can try.
She hands me the paperwork and tells me I can go fill it out and bring it back. But she just really hands me a list of things. It's like, do these all apply to you? Like, I would have to be in a relationship for 30 days or more to get a protection order.
So I just fill these out?
Yeah. Basically, she just made me feel like, don't waste our time, because if you don't meet all these criteria, there's no point in you filling out this paperwork.
Okay, thanks.
So I just kind of put the paperwork aside and just hope that he just goes away.
That's about it.
Kids asleep?
Yeah. It's just for a couple of nights. Do you still have my gun?
What?
My gun, do you still have it?
No, I sold it when you left. What do you want it for?
For protection?
Do you want to tell me what's up?
I wasn't gonna tell Travis what was going on because we were going through our divorce. I was really embarrassed by everything that was happening.
I got myself into a situation. I've been seeing this guy, and now he's scaring me. It's all my fault. I dragged us into this, all of us.
Look, it's all gonna be fine. You can stay here as long as you need. And I know it doesn't mean anything. Look, I got sheets for the couch, everything.
Thank you.
You should probably go get some rest.
Yeah. Good night.
I can't get to the phone right now, so leave a message.
I can't believe you're back there with him. You're a liar. And you're gonna regret it.
I can't believe you're back there with him. You're a liar. And you're gonna regret it.
You want to hear more? I have tons more like this one. And text messages. Hundreds of them. I know you said you called him to warn him, but I don't think that that's enough. Surely you can see how dangerous he is.
Absolutely.
The detective said, I explained to him if he does not leave you alone, he will be arrested. And he said he understood fully and that he doesn't want to cause any trouble. He doesn't want to get in any trouble. And he said that he would leave you alone.
But he's still calling me. Non-stop.
He shows up. Find safety and call us.
And take a picture as proof.
Proof? This is proof.
And so at that point, he said, but he would absolutely be crazy to show up at your work because I went through everything with him and he knows he's to leave you alone.
You really think he won't come back?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I hope you're right.
So after I talked to the detective, I felt confident that Chris was gonna leave me alone, that this nightmare that I've been living would go away. Life is getting better. My husband and I are postponing our divorce because of everything that was going on. So we're friends, and we're taking care of our children, and I'm feeling safe because he's there on the couch. And it was nice. I thought, okay, my life is getting back to normal. I was very upset. I just remember feeling that weight come back onto my shoulder thinking, he hasn't left. He's not gonna leave me alone. He's finding a way to get a hold of me to try to sabotage my life, you know, and I don't understand why. I just wanted him just to stop. My heart just went into my stomach. And I was super scared because none of my coworkers are there to phone 911.
Kayla, we need to talk.
Chris, you can't be here. You need to leave. The cops know.
Kayla, please.
His whole demeanor and the way that he was standing there, it was like I was looking right through him.
Kayla, please.
I'm taking photos.
You can't take pictures of me.
I'm sending them to the cops.
I wanted to press charges for harassment. At this point, I was very, very mad and scared.
You have one unheard message.
I know you're back with him. I'm gonna come for him. Then I'm gonna come for you. I'll be there in your face before you know it. And I'm gonna kill you.
It keeps happening, and it's not stopping.
What are you doing out here?
I needed to get a hold of the police, and I needed a protection order. And they said I cannot get any help or get him arrested for showing up at my house unless I had this protection order. And they said it should be very simple for me to get a protection order with all the history that it now has built up.
His address?
Yeah, I don't know his address.
And she said, well, in order to get a protection order, we have to be able to serve him. And I'm like, you can't just look up his address. You can't call these officers that I've talked to find him. And she's like, no.
Work address?
I don't know where he works. I don't know where he lives. Surely you can find him and you can serve him, right? You've got to help me. This guy is ruining my life.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I just remember just crying, thinking, I hope that nothing bad happens. And then I was just angry. You know, I was just praying to God that maybe Chris will just stop. few weeks later, Travis and I were at home.
Kayla! Get all the kids!
Travis was doing the dishes, and he looked out the window, and there was Chris standing there.
Kayla! Don't come down here! Get a hold of the kids! Chris, you got a problem, you come out here and tell me.
At that point, I have no idea what I'm going to do to get him to stop and to get him to stay away. He was obsessed with me. It was really nice having Travis around again. He was very supportive. It was really nice. It was very comforting. We were all just living in fear, like, every night. We were just scared. We didn't know at this point what was gonna actually really happen. I really didn't think that he would cause me harm. I really thought that he was just so in love with me that, like, you don't hurt a person that you're in love with, and he wanted to be with me so bad. I really didn't think that he would actually hurt me. But he was very scary, and I wasn't sure what he was gonna do. Saturday morning, I had to work really super early. I had a book schedule, and I was gonna be there from 9 to 7. I got my third client of the day, and she's a young girl. Never done her hair before, but she was super excited because it was the first time getting her hair colored. Maggie's husband came, and he comes in the shop, and we call him our handyman. So he was there, you know, fixing things. Chris was standing right next to me in my shop.
Tom, can you come help?
I was in a state of shock.
Come outside.
And I didn't hear the door open. I didn't even realize that he was in the shop. I wasn't sure what he was gonna do. And there was a part of me that was like, is he gonna shoot up the salon?
You need to leave.
What is he gonna do?
Outside.
I came to see Michaela.
Outside.
I didn't want to make my client feel uncomfortable, and I was scared to death trying to hold, you know, a straight face and pretend like nothing was going on when I knew this was gonna be really bad. I was just devastated. I didn't know, I'm like, I don't know how to end this. What have I done? What did I do?
Okay, nearly ready. I'll be right back, okay?
I was just terrified. I'm like, this is just getting ridiculous. So after everything, I finally was like, I have to find his address. I remembered that he told me he was living with his mom, and I realized that I cut his mom's hair. And when she would get her hair cut, she would write me a check. Everybody's checkbook has their address. When I found the check and I found his address, I was really excited.
Yes.
And then I was kind of mad at myself too. Why didn't I think of this earlier?
Yes, can I please speak with Detective Treadwell?
I had such a big day. I was so busy at work and everything that happened this morning, I was kind of feeling overwhelmed.
Hey, I'm leaving now.
But, a sense of relief too, because I was finally thinking this guy is gonna be in big trouble now.
Shall I get pizza?
At the point when I got off of work, I assumed that he was arrested.
Okay, cool. See you later.
They were gonna arrest him for trespassing in the salon, and I'm hoping that they were going to arrest him for stalking too. I was so relieved. I was so excited. I was like, he's getting arrested. Finally, all this nightmare is gonna come to a closure. And I'm gonna be able to sleep tonight because he's not gonna be there. I pulled in the driveway, and my daughter was calling me.
Hello?
Say, Mom, when are you gonna get home? I have a church dance that I would like to go to, but it starts at 7.
Honey, I'll be back in like 15 seconds. I'm right outside. Okay, you count them then, but this time from 11. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
There was Chris standing there, like he was possessed. I saw evil before, but now I'm seeing it. It's standing right in front of me. All of a sudden, I was on the ground. I wasn't quite sure how I even got there, but then I realized that I've been shot. I just remember thinking that I literally can't move the bottom of my legs, and then the pain started coming. And then all of a sudden, I could feel the bullet in my stomach. At this point, I had no idea where he was.
Mom, get away! Go back inside!
And my mom's taking her phone, and she's just taking her hand and pounding on her phone.
My daughter's been shot! Get an ambulance!
I had no idea if I was paralyzed. I didn't know if I'd be able to stand.
It really hurts.
When I was laying there, I remembered a police officer says we found him and he's been arrested. I just remember thinking, thank God. There was a sense of relief that he can't hurt anybody in my family or me. And so a sense of relief came over my body. Now, looking back at the relationship, I feel that Chris targeted me. He made me his victim right at the beginning. I believe that he started a relationship with me in his mind the first day that he met me. When I was at the hospital, doctor told me that the bullet had hit my hip, and because of that, it stopped the bullet from going all the way through my body. And he said that if anybody were to get shot, you got shot in a perfect spot, that you were very, very lucky. It missed everything by centimeters. I'm really blessed. I feel like I will recover 100% and I will get back to the point where I was before the shooting. Life is really positive now. I'm very grateful. I can walk. I'm not as fast as a runner as I'd like to be, but that's okay. I still get out there. I'm back to work now. It's amazing to see my clients. I feel like I'm busier now than I was before. Since everything that has happened, my family has gotten very close.
It was beautiful.
The relationship that I have with Travis has been stronger than ever before.
Thanks. See you again soon.
Now we're just kind of like, life is too short not to live life and enjoy it by every moment.
Okay, who's next? Well, look who it is.
After I was shot and I was in the hospital and Travis came into the room, in that moment it was just like, I don't want you to ever leave me ever alone or ever be out of my life. Relationships are hard, and you know, we're gonna do whatever we can to make this work and keep our family together.
The photograph of Megan Holt sitting inside the diner changed everything overnight. Until that moment, the reopened Hollow Cross investigation still carried uncertainty around the edges. Maybe Daniel Voss survived. Maybe the tape was fake. Maybe Mercer's theories spiraled beyond reality after years of obsession. But the enhanced diner reflection destroyed every remaining doubt. Megan Holt vanished in Nevada during August 2002 while driving home from Las Vegas after visiting friends. Her abandoned Jeep surfaced 3 days later beside Interstate 80 with the driver's side window shattered and her purse still sitting on the passenger seat untouched. Local investigators treated the case as a highway abduction linked to transient offenders. Nobody connected it to Hollow Cross because Daniel Voss had supposedly been dead for 11 years already. Now investigators stared at photographic evidence placing Megan alive inside a roadside diner beside 2 dead men officially buried by history. Detective Sarah Whitaker immediately reopened every unsolved case connected to Daniel Voss after 1991. The numbers became terrifying fast. 37 disappearances across 8 states, carrying behavioral similarities to the original Hollow Cross murders. Women traveling alone, rural highways, abandoned vehicles, missing shoelaces, some bodies recovered, most never found. Whitaker built a new timeline stretching nearly 3 decades across Western America, while analysts digitized Alan Mercer's notes around the clock. The deeper they looked, the uglier the investigation became. Daniel Voss and Reverend Samuel Rayner moved constantly after 1991. Truck stops, church shelters, highway construction jobs, temporary volunteer programs. They drifted to forgotten towns like ghosts carrying new identities every few years, while women continued disappearing behind them. Then came the Arizona connection. A detective from Flagstaff contacted Whitaker after seeing news coverage surrounding the reopened case. In 2008, 2 women vanished within 6 months along Interstate 17. Both cases contain bizarre details never released publicly. Victims' shoes recovered without laces. Small cross wounds behind left ears. One survivor. Barely. 30-year-old Laura Mendez escaped from an abandoned warehouse outside Kingman after stabbing her attacker with broken glass during captivity. She described 2 men, one older, soft-spoken preacher type, one quieter, military posture, smelled like bleach and cigarettes. Local police never connected the description to Daniel Voss because federal databases still listed him deceased at the time. Whitaker flew to Arizona immediately. Laura Mendez lived alone now in a gated apartment complex outside Phoenix, under a different name entirely. She answered the door reluctantly after federal marshals confirmed Whitaker's credentials twice. Trauma still lived visibly inside her eyes after 11 years. Whitaker showed her enhanced photographs recovered from Mercer's evidence box carefully one at a time. Laura pointed at Daniel Voss instantly. That's him. Then Whitaker slid the diner reflection across the table. Reverend Samuel Rayner, smiling near the truck. Laura's hand started shaking immediately. That one. Whitaker leaned forward. Are you sure? Laura looked physically ill now. He talked about God the whole time. Silence filled the apartment. Then Laura whispered something else. The other one was scared of him. Whitaker's pulse jumped hard. Daniel Voss? Laura nodded slowly. The preacher controlled everything. The sentence matched Alan Mercer's theories perfectly. Voss wasn't the mastermind. Samuel Rayner directed him psychologically somehow. Groomed him maybe. Manipulated him. Whitaker needed to know how far back the relationship stretched. She dug into Reverend Rayner's history deeper than anyone ever had before. What emerged looked less like a pastor's career and more like a map of disappearances hidden beneath religious outreach work spanning decades. Churches across Oregon, youth retreats, shelter programs, volunteer transport vans moving constantly between rural communities. Every few years another missing girl surfaced somewhere near Rayner's assignments. Never enough for patterns individually. Together they became horrifying. Then investigators discovered the cemetery records. Samuel Rayner served briefly as assistant groundskeeper for Black Hollow Memorial Cemetery during summer months in 1978 before entering ministry full-time. Whitaker nearly overlooked a detail until forensic analysts cross-referenced another clue buried inside Mercer's journals. Several Hollow Cross victims were found near abandoned graveyards or burial sites positioned unnaturally with hands folded across their chests. Mercer believed the staging symbolized religious ritual. Suddenly, Samuel Rayner sat at the center of everything. Whitaker ordered excavation at Black Hollow Memorial 2 days later after cadaver dogs alerted repeatedly near an unused section behind the oldest mausoleum. Workers uncovered human remains within hours. Female, teenage, buried without a coffin, nearly 6 feet deep beneath tree roots. Then another body surfaced beside it. Then another. For victims total by sunset. One carried the Hollow Cross signature behind the ear. Another still wore a faded church retreat bracelet dated 1985. Reporters flooded the cemetery gates immediately, while helicopters circled overhead broadcasting live footage nationwide. Families screamed at investigators behind barricades demanding answers after decades believing daughters simply vanished forever. Whitaker stood inside the excavation trench staring down at bones hidden beneath black hollow soil for nearly 30 years when her phone vibrated again. Unknown number. Same as before. She answered slowly. Silence first. Breathing. Calm. Controlled. Then the voice returned. Older now. Tired almost. You keep digging where Mercer dug. Whitaker's throat tightened instantly. Who is this? Soft chuckle. He never understood the important part. Whitaker signaled quietly for technicians to trace the call. What important part? Long pause. Then the caller answered. Daniel was easy to replace. The line disconnected immediately. Whitaker stood frozen while the words echoed through her mind. Easy to replace. Investigators traced the signal to a disposable phone discarded beside Interstate 5, nearly 80 miles away. No prints, no cameras, nothing useful. But the implication poisoned the investigation instantly. Replaceable, meaning Daniel Voss may not have been unique at all. Maybe Samuel Rayner built something larger, a system, a partnership. Whitaker returned to Mercer's journals again, searching for anything overlooked. She found one final notebook hidden beneath false cardboard lining inside the evidence box, smaller than the others. Unlabeled, the pages contained names, hundreds of names, mostly young women connected to church events, shelters, volunteer programs, and rural outreach tours between 1979 and 2005. Some crossed out, some circled, some marked with dates. Potential victims, future targets maybe. But one name near the center of the list stopped Whitaker's breathing instantly. Emily Grayson, the records clerk who discovered Mercer's forgotten evidence box. Whitaker called the records office immediately. No answer. She drove there herself through pouring rain with sirens screaming across downtown Salem, while fear clawed through her chest. By the time she arrived, patrol cars already surrounded the archive building. Officers moved quickly through hallways, searching every room. Emily's desk sat empty, coffee still warm, purse still hanging beneath the chair, computer screen active. Security footage revealed she left the building 43 minutes earlier after receiving a phone call at her workstation. A dark blue van waited outside when she exited. Witnesses described an older gray-haired man sitting in the passenger seat, wearing a clerical collar. Whitaker watched the footage 3 times before the nausea hit fully. Samuel Rayner knew investigators reopened the case because Emily found Mercer's evidence. And now Emily Grayson was gone. Just like Claire Bennett. Just like Melissa Grant. Just like dozens of women swallowed by hollow cross over 3 decades. Except this time the killers made one catastrophic mistake. They took someone after the entire country started watching again. Federal task forces activated across multiple states before midnight. Airports, highway checkpoints, border alerts. National media exploded into panic, while Whitaker sat alone inside the command center, replaying security footage frame by frame. Then one image finally stopped her cold, reflected briefly in the van's rear window. During Emily's abduction, sat another face barely visible beside Samuel Rayner. Older, thin, blue eyes staring directly toward the camera. Daniel Voss, alive and smiling. The first gunshot echoed through the hydroelectric tunnels like an explosion inside a coffin. Concrete walls amplified the sound violently, shaking dust loose from rusted pipes overhead, while red emergency lights pulsed across flooded corridors beneath Black Hollow Reservoir. Federal agents surged forward through the darkness with rifles raised as alarms screamed continuously somewhere above the station. Detective Sarah Whitaker stayed beside Emily Grayson only long enough to ensure paramedics reached her safely before sprinting deeper underground toward the gunfire. The tunnels twisted endlessly beneath the reservoir, like arteries beneath dead flesh. Water dripped steadily from ceilings blackened by decades of mold and machine oil. The deeper agents moved, the stranger the environment became. Old turbine chambers, abandoned maintenance rooms, narrow rail tracks disappearing into darkness. Then another sound reached them, cassette static, faint, crackling softly through hidden speakers mounted somewhere overhead. A man's voice emerged through the distortion. Calm, familiar. Daniel Voss. You should have buried the box. Tactical teams froze instinctively, listening while the voice echoed through the tunnels. Alan Mercer understood something before he died. Voss continued quietly. People don't fear death. They fear not knowing where death waits. Then laughter. Not loud, not manic. Worse. Controlled, measured. The voice of a man completely certain he remained untouchable. Whitaker signaled teams forward again, while technicians traced the audio source unsuccessfully. The transmission bounced through old maintenance speakers wired throughout the hydroelectric complex decades earlier. Whoever controlled the system knew the tunnels intimately. Then agents discovered the photographs. Hundreds taped across corridor walls, stretching deeper underground. Missing women, newspaper clippings, crime scene images, some decades old. Some recent enough to still carry fresh tape adhesive. Victims from the original Hollow Cross murders beside women who disappeared years after Daniel Voss supposedly died. Dozens never connected publicly before now. Each photograph carried handwritten dates and locations in black ink, like trophies, like a museum curated by monsters. One image stopped Whitaker cold. Claire Bennett standing beside the Ashwood Grocery Mart minutes before disappearing in 1987. But this version differed from police evidence files. Someone photographed Claire from inside a vehicle across the parking lot, watching her through rain-covered glass. The killer possessed her long before the abduction. Jesus Christ, one federal agent whispered behind her. Then they found a room, a massive underground generator chamber, converted into something resembling a shrine. Old television sets stacked against walls played static endlessly, while cassette tapes hung from wires overhead like decorations. Church pews lined the center floor, facing a raised platform illuminated beneath a single industrial light. On the platform sat a wooden chair bolted directly into concrete, leather restraints attached at the arms. Blood staining the floor, beneath it dark brown. Fresh, very fresh. Whitaker moved carefully through the chamber, while forensics photographed everything rapidly. Then she noticed the writing covering the far wall. Names. Hundreds of names carved directly into concrete. Victims, survivors, detectives, reporters, witnesses, anyone connected to the Hollow Cross investigation over 30 years. Alan Mercer's name appeared near the center, surrounded by deep scratches carved repeatedly into the wall, almost violently. But another name had been added recently. Sarah Whitaker. Fresh cuts, still white around the edges where concrete dust remained unsettled. They knew she was coming long before reopening the case publicly. Suddenly radio chatter exploded through tactical comms. Movement East Tunnel. Agents pivoted instantly toward the far corridor. Footsteps echoed somewhere ahead, splashing through shallow water. Whitaker joined pursuit teams racing through maintenance shafts barely wide enough for two people side by side. Then the lights failed completely. Total darkness swallowed the tunnels. Several agents cursed while emergency flashlights snapped on across the corridor. Silence followed. Thick, oppressive. Then jazz music started again. Autumn nocturne drifting softly from somewhere very close now. Whitaker's flashlight swept across damp concrete walls until the beam landed suddenly on a man standing 20 feet ahead inside the tunnel intersection. Tall, thin, gray hair, clerical collar visible beneath a raincoat. Reverend Samuel Rayner. He didn't run, didn't raise a weapon, just stood calmly watching them approach with almost gentle sadness inside his expression. "Federal agents," someone shouted. "Hands where we can see them." Rayner smiled faintly. "You came much faster this time." Whitaker stepped forward carefully. "Where's Daniel Voss?" Rayner ignored the question. Alan Mercer spent 20 years looking for meaning in all this. He gestured softly toward the tunnels surrounding them. But people always misunderstand fear. Whitaker kept her weapon trained directly on his chest. "Get on the ground." High in the sight. Fear creates order. Communities behave when darkness reminds them consequences exist. The words sounded rehearsed, preached, like doctrine repeated over decades until belief hardened into certainty. "You murdered women," Whitaker snapped. Rayner tilted his head slightly. "Daniel murdered women." Silence. Then he smiled again. "I simply taught him how important fear can become." The confession hit harder because of how calmly he delivered it. No rage, no insanity, just conviction. Then gunfire erupted suddenly from behind the task force. Agents screamed. Whitaker spun instantly toward the sound as bullets tore through the tunnel darkness from hidden side passages. Ambush. Federal teams scattered for cover, while muzzle flashes exploded through maintenance corridors. Someone ahead shouted, "Multiple shooters." Whitaker ducked behind concrete piping, while chaos consumed the tunnels completely. But something felt wrong immediately. Too many angles. Too coordinated. Daniel Voss and Samuel Rayner weren't alone. More gunfire cracked overhead. One agent collapsed beside the flooded walkway, clutching his throat. Another disappeared screaming into darkness after someone dragged him through a side hatch before backup reached him. Whitaker fired twice toward movement near the far tunnel intersection. Then she looked back. Samuel Rayner was gone, vanished during confusion. Tactical teams regrouped slowly, while emergency generators restored partial lighting. Blood streaked the tunnel floors. One federal agent dead, 2 injured, 1 missing entirely. The hydroelectric station transformed instantly from search operation into active siege. Then investigators made the most horrifying discovery yet. Security footage recovered from the station control room showed several masked individuals moving through underground corridors hours before federal teams arrived. Different heights, different builds, armed, organized. At least 6 additional people besides Voss and Rayner. Whitaker stared at the monitor in disbelief. Who the hell are they? Nobody answered, because suddenly Alan Mercer's oldest theory returned from a grave. Daniel Voss was never working alone. Not just with Samuel Rayner. With others. A network, maybe. A system hidden beneath the Hollow Cross murders all along. Then the missing agent's radio crackled alive, suddenly through comms. Static first, heavy breathing. Then a terrified voice whispered, "They're still here." Gunshots exploded immediately afterward. Screaming. Silence. Whitaker grabbed the transmitter. "Agent Cole, respond." Nothing. Then another voice replaced him calmly. Older, gravelly. "Daniel Voss at last. You keep looking for monsters, detective." Soft chuckle. "But monsters build families too." The transmission ended. Whitaker felt cold spread slowly through her chest while alarms continued echoing to the underground station. Because somewhere beneath Black Hollow Reservoir, beyond the flooded tunnels and hidden chambers, Daniel Voss wasn't simply running anymore. He was defending something. Rain hammered the surface of Black Hollow Reservoir hard enough to shake ripples through the underground tunnels beneath the hydroelectric station, while federal agents dragged wounded officers toward emergency triage zones near the lower maintenance entrance. Blood mixed with standing water across the concrete floors. Radio chatter turned frantic. Tactical maps became useless almost immediately, because half the underground corridors discovered during the raid never appeared on official blueprints. Someone modified the station years earlier. Hidden routes, reinforced chambers, escape shafts leading deeper beneath the mountain. Detective Sarah Whitaker stood inside the temporary command room soaked from reservoir runoff, while analysts replayed Daniel Voss's radio transmission repeatedly through speakers. Monsters build families, too. The sentence poisoned the air inside the station, because everyone understood what it implied. Hollow Cross wasn't one killer. Not two. Something larger existed beneath the investigation now. Maybe always had. Then another discovery surfaced from the station archives, recovered upstairs. Construction logs from 1974 revealed extensive tunnel expansions beneath Black Hollow Reservoir, funded privately through shell organizations connected to religious outreach charities across Oregon. One name appeared repeatedly authorizing material shipments and excavation permits. Reverend Samuel Rayner. Whitaker stared at the paperwork in disbelief. Rayner helped build the underground complex years before the first known Hollow Cross murder officially occurred, which meant this operation didn't evolve accidentally over time. It was planned, deliberately, carefully. The task force split into smaller tactical teams before dawn, searching unexplored tunnel systems branching beneath the mountain. Whitaker joined the Eastern Corridor sweep personally despite direct FBI orders to remain at command. She ignored them completely. Somewhere underground Daniel Voss still moved freely after 32 years of murder, manipulation, and terror. She needed to see him face to face now. The eastern tunnels narrowed quickly into old mining shafts predating the hydroelectric station entirely. Wooden support beams creaked overhead while rusted rail tracks disappeared into darkness beneath inches of freezing water. The deeper agents advanced. The older the tunnels looked. Some walls carried faded religious symbols painted directly onto stone decades earlier. Crosses, Latin phrases, dates stretching back to the late 1950s. One federal historian accompanying the team whispered something quietly while examining the markings. This place was used before Rayner. Whitaker stopped instantly. "What?" The historian pointed toward carved initials repeated across the walls beside old prayer symbols. These tunnels belonged to a missionary shelter program during the 60s. Silence settled heavily. For runaway children. Whitaker felt nausea rising again. Then agents ahead discovered the dormitories. small underground sleeping rooms carved directly into mountain rock. Rusted bunk beds lined the walls beside piles of children's clothing preserved in sealed trunks. Old toys, school books, religious pamphlets. The air smelled rotten. Ancient. One room contained photographs taped beside a cot, showing groups of teenage girls posing at church retreats during different decades. Some faces matched known Holocaust victims. Others didn't appear in any database at all. Whitaker realized with growing horror that disappearances connected to Samuel Rayner likely stretched back far beyond 1987, long before Daniel Voss entered the picture. Then they found the film reels, locked inside waterproof military containers stacked beneath a collapsed storage shelf, dozens of unlabeled reels carefully preserved underground. Federal technicians transported them immediately to a temporary screening unit upstairs, while Whitaker continued deeper into the tunnels. Hours later, the first footage rolled across projector screens inside the station command center. Black and white film. Late 1960s, maybe. Church camp gathering somewhere rural. Children laughing beside cabins. Priests and volunteers organizing outdoor games. Then the camera focused briefly on a younger Samuel Rayner, standing near a group of girls beside a transport van. Much younger, thin, dark hair, smiling warmly into the lens. Beside him stood another man investigators didn't recognize initially. Tall, broad shoulders, military haircut, wearing a silver wedding ring. Analysts enlarged the image slowly. The room fell silent instantly. Daniel Voss, young, barely 20 years old maybe, standing beside Samuel Rayner, nearly 2 decades before the first official Holocaust murder. Whitaker watched the footage repeatedly, trying to process the implications. Voss and Rayner knew each other since at least the 60s, meaning their partnership stretched across almost an entire lifetime. Then another detail surfaced inside the footage. Children disappeared from certain scenes suddenly between cuts. Different girls, gone without explanation. Yet nobody on film reacted strangely afterward. Camp activities simply continued, like absence itself became normal. Whitaker returned underground immediately after seeing the reels. She found the Eastern sweep team gathered outside a sealed steel door hidden behind collapsed mining equipment nearly 2 miles beneath the reservoir. Fresh scratch marks covered the floor nearby. Recent movement. Tactical teams prepared explosives carefully while Whitaker listened closely at the door itself. Faint sounds drifted through the metal. Music. Autumn nocturne again. Soft. Distant. Then another noise. Crying. Very faint. Breaching. The lead agent whispered. Charges detonated violently seconds later. Smoke flooded the corridor, while teams stormed to the doorway into darkness beyond. The chamber inside looked impossibly large beneath the mountain, an underground sanctuary built from old rail tunnels and mining caverns connected together over decades. Lanterns illuminated walls covered with photographs, newspaper headlines, and cassette recordings hanging from wires overhead like decorations inside some diseased cathedral. More people moved through the shadows immediately. Men, armed, older mostly, some wearing work uniforms, some dressed like ordinary civilians. But everyone carried the same silver wedding ring. Gunfire exploded instantly. The sanctuary erupted into chaos while federal teams exchanged rounds through stone corridors echoing beneath the mountain. Whitaker ducked behind collapsed timber as bullets tore splinters through the air overhead. One armed man rushed toward her screaming scripture, before tactical agents dropped him instantly. Another disappeared deeper into the tunnels, carrying a police radio scanner identical to those used during the original Hollow Cross murders. "How many are there?" someone shouted through comms. Nobody knew. Then Whitaker saw him. Daniel Voss standing across the cavern entrance beneath hanging lantern light. Older now, gaunt, deep lines carved into his face after decades hiding in darkness. But the eyes remained exactly the same blue Rebecca Sloan described in 1991. Cold, empty, watching calmly while gunfire erupted around him. He held no weapon visibly, just stood there observing the chaos almost peacefully. Whitaker raised her rifle immediately. "Federal agents, don't move." Daniel Voss smiled faintly. Alan Mercer looked just as tired near the end. Then he vanished behind the stone columns deeper inside the sanctuary. Whitaker chased him instantly through winding corridors beneath the mountain, while tactical teams battled armed followers throughout the underground complex. The sanctuary stretched endlessly. Dormitories, storage rooms, recording studios filled with cassette tapes and police scanners, hidden cells lined with restraints, evidence proving generations of abductions operated beneath Black Hollow, for decades hidden beneath churches, charities, and outreach programs. Then Whitaker reached the final chamber. Circular, quiet, lit only by candles surrounding old television sets stacked against the walls. Daniel Voss waited alone beside a folding table covered in photographs of every Hollow Cross victim stretching back 30 years. Samuel Rayner sat calmly nearby, listening to jazz music through headphones like an old man relaxing after church service. Neither appeared surprised to see her. Rayner removed the headphones slowly first. "You finally understand," he whispered. Whitaker kept the rifle aimed directly between Daniel Voss's eyes. "Understand what?" Daniel answered softly before Rayner could speak. "Fear survives longer than people." Silence filled the chamber, except for jazz crackling faintly through the speakers. Then Whitaker noticed something else behind him in the candlelight. More photographs. Hundreds. Children. Young girls from church camps dating back to the 1960s. Some smiling beside Samuel Rayner. Some beside Daniel Voss. Some marked with red X symbols across their faces. Whitaker felt physically sick. "How long?" she whispered. Rayner smiled sadly. "Long before anyone cared enough to ask." Then somewhere deeper inside the sanctuary, hidden beneath the mountain below Black Hollow Reservoir, a little girl screamed. The scream ripped through the underground sanctuary so suddenly and violently that every sound inside the chamber stopped at once. Jazz music crackled softly from the old speakers. Candle flames trembled against damp stone walls. Daniel Voss turned his head slightly toward the darkness beyond the circular room, while Reverend Samuel Rayner closed his eyes for a brief second like a priest hearing confession. Then the scream came again, younger this time, terrified, real. Detective Sarah Whitaker felt her entire body lock with adrenaline instantly. "Where is she?" she shouted. Daniel Voss looked back toward her calmly. Too late. Whitaker advanced immediately with a rifle leveled directly at his chest. "Move." But Rayner stood slowly from the folding chair before Voss could answer. Old now, frail even, yet something inside his expression remained deeply unsettling, peaceful almost. "You think this place exists because of him?" he asked quietly. Whitaker ignored the question. "Where's the girl?" Rayner gestured toward the sanctuary surrounding them. This mountain has been swallowing children since before Daniel ever arrived. Another scream echoed deeper underground. Closer now, tactical teams flooded nearby corridors through comms while gunfire continued intermittently throughout the complex behind them. Some armed followers still resisted federal agents elsewhere in the sanctuary, but the battle had shifted. Nobody cared about arrests anymore. There was a child alive somewhere beneath Black Hollow. Whitaker moved toward the rear tunnel immediately, but Daniel Voss stepped sideways, blocking the passage. "You shouldn't go down there," he said softly. Whitaker raised a rifle higher. "Move." Voss studied her face for several seconds. "You still think monsters look different than everyone else." Then he smiled faintly. "That's why people like us survive." Whitaker fired one round directly beside his head into the stone wall. The explosion deafened the chamber instantly. Dust rained from the ceiling. Last warning. Daniel Voss slowly stepped aside. Not afraid, almost curious. Whitaker pushed past him into the rear corridor with tactical teams close behind. The tunnel descended sharply through ancient mining shafts reinforced with timber, so old it looked fossilized. Water rushed somewhere far below through underground channels beneath the mountain. The deeper they moved, the older the construction became. Stone walls, rusted lantern hooks, religious markings carved into the rock dating back decades. Then they found the classroom. Tiny wooden desks arranged carefully beneath dim overhead bulbs. Chalkboards covered in handwriting exercises. Children's drawings taped beside Bible verses. The room looked abandoned, recently rather than historically. Blankets still warm. Half-eaten food sitting on tables. One small pink shoe lying overturned near the doorway. "Jesus Christ," an agent whispered. Whitaker realized immediately what the sanctuary truly was. Not merely a hiding place, a breeding ground. Generations raised underground beneath Black Hollow, beyond public sight. Some of the armed men fighting federal agents above likely grew up here entirely separated from normal society, shaped by Samuel Rayner and Daniel Voss from childhood onward. Then another discovery surfaced inside a nearby dormitory. Birth records, handwritten ledgers documenting children born inside the sanctuary since the early 70s. No hospitals, no official certificates, just names and dates beside coded notes. Some children marked transferred, others marked prepared. Whitaker's stomach twisted violently reading them. One name appeared repeatedly through the records beside training notes and religious evaluations. Elijah Rayner. She recognized it instantly from older Holocross evidence files. A runaway teenager linked briefly to Samuel Rayner's church programs in 1984 before disappearing permanently. Police assumed he fled west with drug traffickers. But according to the underground records, Elijah never disappeared. He was born beneath Black Hollow, raised inside the sanctuary from birth. Then radio chatter exploded suddenly through tactical comms. Movement lower tunnels. Agents surged downward immediately through narrow stone staircases, spiraling beneath the mountain. The air grew colder with every level, colder and wetter. Then they reached the river chamber. An enormous underground cavern opened before them, illuminated by lanterns hanging beside black water rushing violently through natural stone channels. Wooden walkways crossed sections of the cavern connecting storage rooms, and cells carved directly into the rock. And standing near the center platform beside the river, waited a young man holding a shotgun, mid-30s maybe, thin, pale, eyes almost colorless beneath hanging lantern light. Beside him stood a little girl no older than 8 with duct tape around her wrists. "Stop right there," he shouted immediately. Federal agents raised rifles across the cavern. Whitaker stepped forward slowly. "Put the gun down." The man smiled nervously. "He said you'd come." Whitaker realized instantly. Elijah Rayner, raised beneath the sanctuary his entire life. "What's the girl's name?" she asked carefully. Elijah looked confused by the question. Then slowly, "Mara." The child stared silently at the ground without moving. Whitaker lowered her voice gently. "Mara, it's okay." Elijah suddenly pulled the girl closer. "No." His panic looked genuine, childlike almost. "You can't take her outside." Whitaker kept advancing slowly despite agents around her tensing for gunfire. "Why not?" Elijah's breathing quickened visibly. "Because they'll ruin her." The sentence landed horribly because Whitaker heard absolute sincerity in it. Elijah genuinely believed the underground sanctuary protected children from the outside world. Samuel Rayner spent decades building not only killers, but believers. Then movement echoed behind the agents suddenly. Daniel Voss entered the cavern calmly alongside Reverend Samuel Rayner, while armed followers appeared across upper walkways surrounding the river chamber. Ambush positions. Tactical advantage. Whitaker realized instantly federal teams walked directly into the sanctuary's central defensive zone. Samuel Rayner stepped beside Elijah almost proudly. "He was our first child born below the mountain," Rayner said softly. "Proof this place could survive forever." Whitaker kept her rifle aimed steadily despite the growing numbers surrounding them. "You kidnapped children." Rayner shook his head gently. "We save them from a world that abandons the weak." Daniel Voss laughed quietly nearby. Samuel always preferred prettier language. The tension inside the cavern thickened instantly. One wrong movement, and the entire chamber would explode into bloodshed around a terrified child standing beside Elijah. Whitaker focused carefully on Mara. Bruised, dirty, but alive. "Let her go," Whitaker whispered. Elijah looked towards Samuel Rayner uncertainly, like a son waiting for permission. Then somewhere above the cavern another explosion thundered through the sanctuary. Federal reinforcements breaching upper tunnel entrances. Dust rained from the ceiling. Several armed followers panicked immediately. Chaos spread through the walkways. Daniel Voss moved first, faster than anyone expected for a man his age. He grabbed Mara violently backward, while Elijah raised a shotgun instinctively toward the agents. Gunfire erupted everywhere at once. Lanterns shattered. Screaming echoed through the cavern. Armed followers opened fire from upper walkways, while federal teams returned rounds through darkness and smoke. Whitaker lunged toward Mara during the chaos as bullets sparked against stone around them. Daniel Voss dragged the child toward the river edge, while Samuel Rayner disappeared into the confusion behind collapsing lantern smoke. Elijah screamed wildly, firing the shotgun blindly, until federal rounds tore through the wooden railing beneath him. He crashed hard into the underground river below and vanished instantly into black current. Then Whitaker reached Daniel Voss. They slammed together near the water's edge violently. Mara scrambled free, screaming, while Voss struck Whitaker across the face hard enough to send her crashing against stone. He looked terrifying up close now. Not cinematic, not mythical, just old, hollow. Decades of murder and hiding etched across his face like rot. yet the eyes remained cold, empty. "You should have buried the box," he whispered again. Then he pulled a knife from beneath his coat and lunged directly toward her throat. The knife missed Sarah Whitaker's throat by less than an inch. Steel scraped across the side of her neck, while she twisted violently against the stone floor beside the underground river. Daniel Voss crashed into her with shocking strength for a man in his 70s, driving both of them dangerously close to the black water roaring to the cavern beneath Black Hollow Mountain. Gunfire exploded across the sanctuary overhead, while shattered lanterns burned against wooden walkways, collapsing into darkness. Mara screamed somewhere behind them. Federal agents shouted commands through smoke and radio static. But inside the chaos, Daniel Voss moved with terrifying calm. Like he had lived inside violence, so long it became natural as breathing. Whitaker slammed her forearm against his wrist, desperately trying to force the knife away from her throat. Up close, she could smell bleach and old cigarette smoke exactly as survivors described for decades. The same smell clinging to abandoned vehicles and underground cells stretching back to 1987. Voss stared directly into her eyes while pressing the blade harder downward. No rage, no excitement, nothing, just emptiness. "You know what Mercer never understood?" he whispered. Whitaker drove her knee upward hard into his ribs. Voss grunted but kept the knife steady. He thought catching monsters mattered. Then Mara struck him from behind. The little girl grabbed a broken lantern handle and smashed it across Voss's shoulder with all the strength her small body could manage. The distraction lasted barely a second, but it saved Whitaker's life. She shoved Voss backward violently toward the river edge and scrambled for her sidearm across the wet stone floor. Voss recovered instantly, turning toward Mar with horrifying speed. Whitaker fired first. The gunshot detonated through the cavern. Voss staggered sideways, clutching his upper arm, while blood sprayed across the stone walkway behind him. For the first time since the investigation reopened, emotion finally crossed his face. Surprise. Not pain. Surprise. Like nobody had touched him in decades. Then tactical teams flooded the lower chamber from multiple tunnel entrances above. Federal agents overwhelmed armed followers along the walkways, while survivors dropped weapons or fled deeper underground. Samuel Rayner vanished completely during the firefight. Whitaker grabbed Mara and pulled her behind collapsed stone supports while bullets continued tearing to the cavern overhead. "Stay down!" she shouted. Mara clung to her silently, trembling from head to toe. Then Whitaker realized something strange. The girl wasn't crying. Not anymore. Just staring toward the darkness where Samuel Rayner disappeared. "He said you destroy everything," Mara whispered softly. Whitaker looked at her carefully. "Who?" "Father Samuel." The words landed heavily. Not preacher, not captor. Father. Whitaker suddenly understood the true scale of what existed beneath Black Hollow. The sanctuary wasn't merely a prison or cult hideout. It was an entire hidden society built around fear, isolation, and obedience. Children born underground, raised underground, taught the outside world was evil, while men like Samuel Rayner became prophets protecting them from it. Then another voice crackled suddenly through tactical comms. "We lost visual on Voss." Whitaker looked up immediately. Daniel Voss disappeared again. Blood trails stretched toward a narrow maintenance tunnel near the river edge, leading deeper beneath the mountain. Whitaker rose instantly. "Stay with the agents," she told Mara. The child grabbed her sleeve suddenly. Don't follow him alone. Whitaker hesitated. Mara's expression looked older than childhood should allow. Why? The girl swallowed hard. Because he likes tunnels where people can hear screaming. Silence hit Whitaker hard for a second. Then she moved. The maintenance tunnel narrowed almost immediately into ancient stone passages barely lit by failing emergency lights. Blood droplets marked the path ahead. Fresh. Daniel Voss wounded badly now, maybe for the first time in 30 years. Whitaker followed carefully with 2 tactical officers close behind, while distant gunfire faded gradually deeper inside the sanctuary. The further they descended, the older the tunnels became. Crude carvings marked the walls beside rusted religious symbols dating back generations. Then the passage opened suddenly into another chamber unlike anything investigators found so far. A graveyard, underground. Stone crypts lined the cavern walls beside rows of wooden crosses hammered into dirt floors beneath hanging lanterns. Names carved into them. Young names. Girls. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Some dating back to the 1960s. Others recent enough the paint still looked fresh. Whitaker felt physically sick. This wasn't disposal. It was preservation. Samuel Rayner and Daniel Voss buried victims beneath the mountain like sacred offerings. Then one of the agents called sharply from the far side of the cavern. Detective? Whitaker hurried over. The agent pointed toward a crypt partially collapsed beside the cave wall. Inside rested stacks of cassette tapes arranged carefully around old newspaper clippings. More recordings. More evidence. But something else sat near the center wrapped in plastic. A police badge. Whitaker picked it up slowly. Detective Alan Mercer. Her pulse froze instantly. Then she saw the dry blood. No! Mercer disappeared briefly in 2009 for nearly 48 hours before reappearing drunk and disoriented outside Portland claiming he followed a lead connected to Hollow Cross. Everyone assumed alcohol caused the episode. Whitaker stared at the badge realizing the truth. Mercer found the sanctuary years earlier and somehow survived it. Then movement echoed behind them. Whitaker spun instantly with her weapon raised. Daniel Voss stood at the far end of the underground graveyard, clutching his bleeding arm heavily, while staring across the cavern toward Mercer's badge in her hand. He came closer than anyone, Voss said quietly. Whitaker aimed directly at his chest. It's over. Voss looked around the graveyard slowly. You think this place ends because you found it? Whitaker advanced carefully. You murdered children. Voss nodded faintly. No denial. No shame. Samuel believed fear purified people. Then he laughed softly through blood-covered teeth. I just enjoyed the sound. The honesty hit harder than rage ever could. Whitaker saw no ideology inside Daniel Voss finally. No twisted mission. No philosophy. Just emptiness consuming a human body for decades. Samuel Rayner built systems and beliefs around Hollow Cross. Daniel Voss simply killed because he wanted to. Then Voss looked directly at Mercer's badge again. He begged me once. Whitaker's grip tightened instantly. What? Mercer. Silence swallowed the graveyard. He found us in 2009. Alone. Thought he could stop everything himself. Voss smiled faintly. He cried when he saw the children. Whitaker felt ice spreading slowly through her chest. What did you do to him? Voss shrugged weakly. Samuel let him leave. The answer made no sense at first. Then realization struck horribly. Alan Mercer wasn't spared. He was broken intentionally, released knowing nobody would believe him afterward because years of obsession and alcoholism already destroyed his credibility. Voss studied Whitaker quietly. That's how fear survives. Then suddenly the cavern lights failed completely. Darkness swallowed the underground graveyard instantly, while distant alarms roared somewhere above the sanctuary. One tactical officer shouted. Another gunshot exploded blindly through the dark. Whitaker spun toward the sound just as something heavy crashed into her from the side. Daniel Voss. They slammed together across dirt and stone between the graves while the killer clawed desperately for her weapon. Flashlights swung wildly through darkness. Screaming echoed nearby. Then Whitaker heard rushing water, growing louder, suddenly beneath them. Too loud. She looked down. The entire graveyard floor was cracking open. The underground river beneath Black Hollow was flooding the sanctuary. The ground split open beneath the underground graveyard with a sound like thunder trapped inside the mountain. Dirt collapsed instantly around the graves, while Black River water exploded upward through widening cracks in the cavern floor. Wooden crosses snapped apart. Ancient crypt walls crumbled inward. The entire sanctuary beneath Black Hollow Reservoir began dying all at once. Tactical officers shouted through darkness while emergency lights flickered violently overhead. Daniel Voss slammed into Sarah Whitaker again beside the collapsing graves, both of them skidding through mud and broken stone as freezing water rushed across the cavern floor. Somewhere deeper inside the sanctuary, alarms screamed continuously through flooded corridors. The hydroelectric station above them was failing. "Move!" One federal agent yelled through the chaos. But Voss grabbed Whitaker's jacket with desperate strength and dragged her toward the widening fissure beneath the graveyard. Up close now, covered in blood and river water, he looked less like the myth-haunting hollow cross for decades and more like what he truly was. Old, exhausted, rotting from the inside after a lifetime hiding underground. Yet his eyes still carried that same terrifying emptiness survivors described since 1987. Whitaker drove her elbow hard into his wounded arm. Voss snarled violently for the first time, finally losing the calm mask he wore throughout the investigation. She tore free, just as another section of cavern floor collapsed into the raging current below. One tactical officer disappeared screaming into darkness before anyone could reach him. Floodwater surged higher immediately. "Tunnel breach!" someone shouted over comms. Reservoir walls giving way. Whitaker scrambled toward stable ground while agents evacuated the graveyard chamber. But Daniel Voss moved deeper into the collapsing sanctuary instead of escaping, toward the lower tunnels, toward the oldest sections beneath Black Hollow Mountain. Whitaker saw him vanish through falling debris and knew instantly he was heading for Samuel Rayner. The sanctuary still had exits nobody mapped yet. If Voss escaped now after 32 years, he would disappear again forever. She chased him, against orders, against reason, through collapsing corridors, flooding rapidly with Black River water. Emergency lights burst overhead one by one, while concrete walls groaned around her like the mountain itself was shifting. The tunnels narrowed sharply into ancient mining shafts reinforced with rotting timber. Whitaker followed bloody footprints through rising water until another sound stopped her cold. Singing, soft at first, then clearer, a hymn echoing somewhere ahead through darkness. Samuel Rayner. Whitaker pushed forward carefully with her weapon raised, while floodwater climbed above her knees. Then the tunnel opened into the chapel. The oldest chamber beneath the sanctuary. Stone walls lined with candles. Wooden pews rotting from moisture. Religious symbols carved directly into the mountain rock, stretching back generations. Water flooded across the chapel floor, while Samuel Rayner stood calmly beside the altar, wearing soaked clerical robes darkened by age and blood. Daniel Voss waited nearby, clutching his wounded arm, while staring silently at the rising floodwater. Neither man looked interested in escaping anymore. Rayner turned slowly toward Whitaker as she entered. "You found the beginning," he said softly. Whitaker aimed the rifle directly between his eyes. "Get on the ground." Rayner smiled faintly. "This place existed before me." He gestured toward the ancient stone carvings surrounding the chapel. Fear always finds new caretakers. Whitaker advanced carefully through the water. "You kidnapped children for decades." "We preserve them," Rayner corrected gently. "Outside these mountains, a world eats innocence alive." Daniel Voss laughed weakly beside him, still preaching. Water surged suddenly through cracks in the chapel walls, nearly knocking Whitaker off balance. The sanctuary continued collapsing rapidly now. They had minutes left at most before the reservoir buried everything underground forever. Whitaker kept her weapon steady despite the rising current. Where are the other children? Samuel Rayner looked genuinely sad suddenly. "Gone." Whitaker's stomach tightened. "Gone where?" Rayner stared toward the flooded tunnel behind her, into the world you built. The answer hit like ice water. Some children raised inside the sanctuary escaped years earlier, blended into normal society, carrying everything Samuel Rayner taught them. Maybe some armed followers captured during the raid were born underground. Maybe others still remained unidentified somewhere beyond Black Hollow entirely. The network survived beyond the mountain already. Then Daniel Voss stepped toward the altar slowly. "Samuel." Rayner looked at him quietly. No words passed between them for several seconds. Just understanding. 30 years together hidden beneath highways, churches, shelters, and graveyards. Teacher and student. Prophet and monster. Then Voss asked a question almost like a child. "Did we matter?" Whitaker felt genuine horror hearing it, because beneath all the violence and myth, Daniel Voss still wanted approval from Samuel Rayner more than freedom or survival. Rayner smiled softly. "Fear always matters." Another violent tremor ripped through the chapel. Stone cracked overhead. Water surged waist-high now. Whitaker moved closer immediately. "It's over." Daniel Voss looked toward her for a long moment. Then slowly, almost peacefully, he lowered himself onto one of the flooded pews. Exhaustion consumed him suddenly. "I got tired years ago," he admitted quietly. Whitaker didn't answer. Voss stared into the black water, swirling around the chapel floor. But Samuel said stopping would mean the fear dies too. Rayner stepped beside him, gently placing one hand on his shoulder, exactly like photographs from the 60s showed decades earlier. The gesture looked disturbingly paternal. "You carried it farther than anyone else could," Rayner whispered. Whitaker realized that Daniel Voss never became Samuel Rayner's partner truly. He became his creation. Groomed from youth into violence until identity itself disappeared beneath obedience and bloodshed. Then Samuel Rayner looked directly at Whitaker. Alan Mercer understood the truth eventually. Whitaker's jaw tightened. "You broke him." Rayner nodded calmly. "No, the truth broke him." Water burst violently through the chapel ceiling overhead. Massive chunks of concrete crashed into the sanctuary, while flood currents surged hard enough to sweep pews sideways through the chamber. The mountain was collapsing. Whitaker moved instantly toward the two men. Move now! But neither obeyed. Daniel Voss sat motionless beside the altar, while Samuel Rayner remained standing beside him almost serenely. This place was never meant to survive forever, Rayner said softly. Whitaker grabbed Voss by the jacket, trying to force him upward. Get up! Voss looked at her strangely calm now. You know what the worst part is, detective? Water rushed around them violently. Nobody remembers the victims as long as they remember us. The sentence hit harder than any confession, because he was right. Newspapers printed killers' faces endlessly, while victims slowly became footnotes beneath headlines. Fear preserved monsters longer than innocence. Then Samuel Rayner stepped backward toward the collapsing altar. Leave, he whispered. Whitaker raised a rifle toward him again. You're under arrest. Rayner smiled sadly. No court will ever understand this place. Suddenly, Daniel Voss shoved Whitaker backward with unexpected force. She crashed into the flooded pews just as the altar floor collapsed entirely beneath Samuel Rayner. Stone shattered. Water exploded upward. Rayner vanished instantly into the black chasm opening beneath the chapel. Gone. Daniel Voss stood slowly afterwards, staring down into the darkness where Samuel disappeared. For the first time since the investigation reopened, genuine emotion crossed his face. Not rage, not fear, loss. Then the remaining chapel ceiling began collapsing above them. Whitaker fought through the floodwater toward the tunnel exit, while tactical teams screamed over comms for immediate evacuation. She turned back once more near the corridor entrance. Daniel Voss remained alone beside the collapsing altar, watching the black water consume the sanctuary around him. Come on, Whitaker shouted. Voss looked toward her through the falling debris. Then he smiled faintly. Bury the box this time. The ceiling collapsed completely seconds later. Stone and water swallowed the chapel in darkness, while the underground sanctuary beneath Black Hollow Reservoir disappeared forever beneath the mountain. 3 days after the collapse beneath Black Hollow Reservoir, divers finally recovered the first body from the flooded ruins of the underground sanctuary. The corpse surfaced tangled in broken timber nearly half a mile downstream from the destroyed hydroelectric station. Male, mid-70s. Severe trauma from falling debris. Fingerprints confirmed the identity within an hour. Daniel Voss. The man officially declared dead in 1991 had survived another 32 years beneath America's highways and forgotten towns, while women disappeared around him one by one. News helicopters circled the recovery site before sunrise. Reporters screamed questions through barricades while federal agents carried black body bags toward armored vehicles under pouring rain. Across the country, families of Holocaust victims watched live broadcasts in silence. Some cried. Some looked relieved. Others looked empty after decades, waiting for answers that arrived far too late. Detective Sarah Whitaker stood near the reservoir shoreline soaked beneath cold Oregon rain, while investigators dragged debris from the flooded tunnel entrances. Samuel Rayner's body never surfaced. Neither did several armed followers lost during the siege underground. Federal engineers warned portions of the sanctuary remained inaccessible permanently after the collapse. Entire sections buried beneath thousands of tons of concrete and mountain rock. Graves, cells, evidence, secrets. all swallowed beneath Black Hollow forever. But the nightmare did not end with Daniel Voss's death. It barely began unraveling. The sanctuary beneath the reservoir exposed something much larger than two killers hiding underground. Investigators discovered evidence connecting Samuel Rayner's network across at least 12 states stretching back to the late 1960s. Church shelters, youth camps, outreach programs, volunteer transport services, entire systems built quietly around vulnerable children and transient women moving beneath public attention for decades. Hundreds of names recovered from the underground ledgers remained unidentified. Some children raised beneath the sanctuary entered normal society years earlier, carrying false identities created through church networks and forged records. Nobody knew how many. FBI analysts called it one of the largest hidden abuse operations uncovered in modern American history. But even that description failed to capture the horror buried beneath Black Hollow Mountain. Because what investigators found underground wasn't just organized violence, it was inheritance. Fear taught generation after generation until cruelty became tradition. Mara survived. Doctors estimated the little girl spent nearly her entire life beneath the sanctuary before federal agents found her beside the underground river chamber. She refused sunlight initially, refused mirrors, refused to sleep unless old jazz music played softly nearby, because silence terrified her more than sound. Child psychologists spent weeks trying to understand the language patterns and religious doctrines drilled into her since birth. She spoke about Samuel Rayner, the way abandoned children speak, about fathers they still love despite everything. He said the outside world eats people alive. Mara whispered during one interview. He said fear keeps families together. The sentence haunted Whitaker more than Daniel Voss's confessions ever could, because Samuel Rayner never believed himself evil. He believed himself necessary. Federal raids continued for months afterward. Abandoned churches linked to Rayner revealed hidden rooms beneath chapels. Rural shelters uncovered forged birth certificates connected to sanctuary children relocated years earlier. One church property in Northern California contained cassette recordings dating back to 1971 documenting psychological conditioning sessions involving runaway teenagers. Some voices belonged to children. Others belonged to men investigators later identified as armed followers killed beneath Black Hollow Reservoir. The deeper authorities dug, the more impossible the truth became to contain publicly. Then came the final tape. Divers recovered it accidentally from debris trapped near the destroyed chapel ruins 6 weeks after the collapse. Waterproof case. Minimal damage. No label. Detective Sarah Whitaker listened alone inside the federal evidence lab long after midnight. Static crackled softly first. Then Samuel Rayner's voice emerged clear as if recorded yesterday. If you are hearing this, the mountain is gone. Silence followed briefly. People will search for monsters after this. They always do. One face, one name, someone easy to bury so communities can sleep again. Whitaker felt cold spreading slowly through her chest. But fear survives because ordinary people protect it every day. Churches protect it. Families protect it. Police departments protect it. Fear survives because people need something darker than themselves to blame. Papers shuffled softly on the recording. Daniel understood violence. But violence alone fades quickly. Terror lasts when communities help hide it. Whitaker closed her eyes, listening while rain struck the evidence lab windows outside. The mountain was never the important part. Rayner continued quietly. The important part was teaching people not to look beneath it. The tape ended there. No final confession. No apology. Nothing. Just silence. Authorities officially closed the Hollow Cross investigation 11 months later after identifying 47 confirmed victims connected directly to Daniel Voss and Samuel Rayner. Unofficial estimates climbed far higher. Some investigators believe the true number stretched beyond 100 disappearances over 5 decades. Maybe more. Nobody could know for certain anymore, because too much evidence died beneath the flooded sanctuary. Black Hollow changed permanently afterward. Tourism disappeared almost overnight. Families moved away. Businesses closed. Locals stopped discussing the reservoir entirely after sunset. Some residents swore they still heard jazz music drifting across the water during storms. Others claimed emergency crews occasionally discovered cassette tapes left near the collapsed tunnel entrances without fingerprints or markings. Most stories were probably fear feeding itself again the way fear always does. But not all of them. 2 years after the sanctuary collapse, federal agents arrested a middle school teacher outside Boise, Idaho, after forensic genealogy linked him to children born beneath Black Hollow during the 70s. He carried one of the silver wedding rings recovered from the underground followers. Months later, another former sanctuary child was identified working as a church counselor in Nevada under a false name. More investigations quietly continued across western states long after media attention faded away. Whitaker retired early, officially because of injuries sustained during the reservoir collapse, unofficially because she could no longer enter churches without scanning every hallway for hidden doors. She kept Alan Mercer's recovered badge locked inside her desk at home, beside the original evidence box that reopened the nightmare. Sometimes late at night, she replayed Samuel Rayner's final tape, trying to understand whether evil truly spread through monstrous people or through ordinary silence surrounding them. She never found an answer. On the anniversary of the Black Hollow raid each year, families of confirmed victims gathered near the reservoir shoreline, holding candles against the darkness. Names are read aloud slowly into the cold mountain air. Claire Bennett, Melissa Grant, Rebecca Sloan, Megan Holt, children whose bodies were never found, women erased by decades of fear and neglect. The candles reflect across the black reservoir water, while helicopters from nearby news stations circle overhead, filming grief from a safe distance. And beneath the mountain, somewhere below the collapsed sanctuary flooded forever in darkness, thousands of cassette tapes still remain buried beside hidden graves and rotting church pews where Daniel Voss once sat listening to jazz music, while the world above believed he was already dead. Some night storms roll across Black Hollow hard enough to shake the trees surrounding the reservoir. Old residents lock their windows early when thunder starts echoing through the valley because they remember what happened beneath the mountain. They remember how long the killer survived simply because nobody wanted to believe monsters could hide inside ordinary places for decades without help. And when rain hits the water just right, people still whisper about hearing music rising faintly from somewhere underneath the reservoir floor. Soft jazz drifting upward to the dark, like a memory refusing to stay buried.